Greetings and welcome to Otaku's Progress. Recently, the anime community has been arguing over a specific show the same way politics are split between the elephant and the donkey. No, it's not Sword Art Online, no, it's not the Big Three, and no, it's not Evangelion. I'm talking about the black sheep of anime that was produced in spring 2013, Aku no Hana. With its use of rotoscoping and reliance on angst, Aku no Hana has spawned both haters that find it repulsive and painful to watch, along with a select group of people that claim it to be an underappreciated masterpiece. But in my opinion, it's an overhyped and cheap adaptation of a perfectly fine thriller. A good story is only as good as the one that tells it, and I feel that Zexcs have made what is supposed to be creepy and unpredictable into a boring and frustrating drag. Now keep in mind that this is all opinion based. Whatever I say may be a fault of the anime, you may actually think it makes it better. But nevertheless, this is 4 reasons why I think Aku no Hana sucks. Number 1. The art style betrays the tone of the original. Keep in mind, I am not against rotoscoping in general. Rotoscoping manages to infuse animation with reality in ways no other animation style can. This is because it involves tracing over live action footage. However, I really don't think it should have been used in this case. Many people have argued that using the rotoscoping manages to make the shocking moments feel more believable by making the style close to reality. If the situations were more akin to how a real-life person thinks, that'd be true. But that is not what made Aku no Hana's story captivating in my opinion. Despite the realistic setting, the events in Aku no Hana, especially later on, are more relevant to a nightmare scenario than an actual drama. It's purely fueled by angst and madness, meaning that it needs a less realistic style to match it. Maybe if this was the original style, I wouldn't have as much of a problem, but it's not. The manga had a more pretty art design, so it may be blamed for being too generic, but honestly, that's what worked about it. By using a more familiar art style and contrasting it with the dark atmosphere, the shocking moments truly stood out. On the other hand, the rotoscoping purposefully makes it look ugly, and while it may fit the content in tone, the contrast that made it so shocking is all gone. When Nakamura first says shit eater in the manga, it's scary. When she says it in the anime, it just seems like an everyday occurrence. There's also specific moments in the manga where the pretty art is necessary, particularly with Psycho. Psycho is described in both the manga and the anime as the femme fatale of our main lead's life. She is what captures most of his attention throughout the first part of the story. We are supposed to feel that as well, that she is worth all this time and effort. But while the manga fits with those grandiose descriptions with a very pretty character design, she looks like one of the titans in Attack on Titan in the anime. Rotoscoping does have its advantages, but this is definitely not one of them. Number 2. The rotoscoping is cheap and lazy. I understand the mangaka found value in rotoscoping, but I don't think that this is what he meant. When I think of good rotoscoping, I think of Tatami Galaxy or the intro to the film Heavy Metal. The whole advantage of rotoscoping is supposed to be the fact that it can benefit from the realism of live action while also melding with the imagination put in animation. But to do that, you need fluidity, detail, and great acting to immerse us, because the problem with rotoscoping is that it can easily be jarring if all 3 aren't consistent, and unfortunately, Aku no Hana fails at all 3 of them. I don't know if Zexcs had budget problems when they started this, or they just gave up in general, but this is atrocious quality when it comes to animation, especially in today's standards. Facial features mostly gone, choppy animation, lip syncing occasionally going whack. There's even a moment in episode 2 where they jump cut a freaking 18-foot run. Really? In 2013? Still images are less jarring than this. And is it just me, or did they trace a guy for this chick? But the worst part is probably the acting. Even with the lacking budget, a good performance can make anything watchable. The reason why rotoscoping needs it more than others is because of the fact it involves tracing over their performance. While most animation can draw their performance for them, the voice actors are the drawing in this case, so their expression must reflect their character as well. But the actors for this are so obnoxious and void of emotion that I wouldn't be surprised if any of them got a frickin' Razzie nomination. There are only 3 good things about the rotoscoping. One is that the backgrounds look photorealistic thanks to tracing actual footage. Even if it's reused, that's one aspect I can't deny. The other 2 are exactly 2 scenes. This from episode 7 and this from episode 10. Other than that, the rotoscoping is just bad. Number 3. The pacing is horrendous. Yes, I know that a slow pacing makes for increased build-up and a more realistic tone, but like I said with the art, it doesn't fit with this kind of story. The reason why the outrageous events worked other than the silly expressions was that it went at an extremely fast pace, giving you enough time to realize what horrible acts were happening, but just enough for you to not question if it made any sense. This brought a sense of dread and madness that could only be achieved through that fast pace. If that's not enough to kill the experience, about half each episode will consist of nothing but walking or standing. If this was trying to be a slice of life, then that'd be understandable. But this is supposed to be a thriller. If you're trying to be creepy or torturous, make sure you pace the story so that you focus on that. Continuity does not need to be present in every single waddle to maintain realism. This complaint would be obsolete if it weren't directly the cause of my last complaint. Number 4. The ending trolls the audience it created. Even if the pacing was slow, dragging, or incompatible, it'd still be fine if the payoff was satisfactory. But the biggest problem with this anime is that it doesn't have a proper conclusion. This will be a major spoiler, but I honestly feel that it must be said. The ending to this series is a 2-minute montage of 2 entire volumes of the manga, including the conclusion to this arc. What's even worse is that these 2 volumes is where everything escalates to the point where what happens during episode 7 is nothing but a taster. This is the finale that is promised from episode 1, the climax that would have made the wait worth it. This is essentially the highlight of the entire story, both in characters and writing. And what do they do with it? They keep it hostage for a possible second series. Some may say there wasn't enough time to fit it into 13 episodes, and they are giving it more time to venture into. But this is where the slow pacing really hits hard. If all of that obsolete walking or standing was taken out, they could easily fit in this explosive finality, prove everyone that this show is worth praising about, and be respected for having the guts to tell it regardless of people's taste. But by cutting off the most definitive part of the story that's already been dragged on and pasting cheap foreground animation while claiming it's avant-garde, Zexcs has reached a level of pretentiousness so high that it could possibly change the minds of Evangelion ranters. And with the sales number of the show being lower than that of my next door neighbor's lemonade stand, the chances of seeing a sequel are too low to put hope into. The actual story and characters are very debatable when it comes to quality. I've read the manga before, and even with my problems with it, I think it's a very addicting thriller to read, and there are some really shocking stuff that happens inside that you actually wonder if these people are even humans. So for all of those people who say that I don't understand the plot and just a dumb moe lover, let me just say right now, I do like the plot. Even with my problems with it, it knows how to be smart, tense, and thus marathonable. This anime did not do that. When you take a story that is proven to be tense already, stretch it to the point of boredom, and kill my eyes while you're telling this story, then you have a problem. I really can't recommend this anime to anyone, especially based on how modern anime is. No moe or action fan that I can think of is gonna watch this series without them giving me the same reaction I had for School Days or Boku no Pico. The manga is great and deserves an 8 out of 10. But as for this anime, I give it 2 whiny screams. Out of 5. On the plus side, welcome back, Twinkies. Yes, I've been waiting so long for these.